Hello, very loving good afternoon to all of you. Today, I'd like to discuss the topic fund flow statement in financial management, though this is the class of financial control and reporting. So, I'd like, because the syllabus of financial control and reporting is already covered, and this topic is very important in financial management, and I have discussed this chapter very early, after maybe 1 month or 1.5 months back. So I'd like to revise this chapter because I have already given you one test series regarding to fund flow statement. So I'd like to revise this chapter so that you can answer the questions which I have given you in the test series of financial management in your Facebook or WhatsApp. So, and very interesting. First of all, I would like to discuss in fund flow statement about the fund. So, what do you think? How you define fund? फंड का मतलब आपके जहन में क्या आ रहा है? फंड है क्या? मैं कहता हूं जो स्पोर्ट्स एक्टिविटी के लिए मेरे पास फंड नहीं है, मतलब फंड नहीं है मतलब क्या हुआ? फंड नहीं है का मतलब मेरे पास पैसे नहीं है. पैसे का मतलब क्या है? मेरे पास कैश नहीं है. सिंपल डेफिनेशन. मतलब मेरे पास फंड नहीं है, घर बनाने के लिए मेरे पास फंड नहीं है, मतलब मेरे पास पैसे नहीं है. It means we want to derive the meaning of fund in two ways. First of all, in narrow sense, in narrow way, संकीर्ण दिमाग, संकीर्ण सोच से. दूसरा, in a broader way, कुछ विस्तृत अपने सोचने की दायरे को कुछ बढ़ा दें. ठीक है? तो अगर संकुचित विचार से सोचें, फंड को तो कहेंगे मेरे पास जो कैश नहीं है, आराम से हो गया. If we want to define fund in a narrow sense, then fund is what? Cash. And when we define fund as cash, then I have to prepare one statement in an organization. And the statement considering fund as cash will prepare cash flow statement. Is that clear? It means we want to convert everything in cash. That is, we want to find the impact on cash due to some other factors of the financial statement. Suppose if the amount of land and building is increasing, if the amount of debtors is increasing, if the amounts of debtors is increasing, then what do you think? It puts impact on cash. If the amount of debtors is increasing, it means you are not recovering cash. It means your cash will decrease. If suppose amount of creditors is increasing, means what? You have borrowed monies from someone else. It means if the amount of creditors is increasing, it means your cash amount is increasing. Is that clear? So, in the cash flow statement, we will see how the other factors put effects on cash. It means when we discuss fund in a narrow sense, but when we define fund in a broad sense, सोचने के दायरे को मैंने बढ़ा दिया, तो बढ़ा देंगे तो क्या होगा? मतलब हम अपने केवल कैश को ही कंसीडर नहीं करेंगे. We will not consider only cash as fund. It means there are some other factors, there are some other assets which is very near to cash. Maybe that that assets may convert, assets or that may convert after 10 days, after 15 days in the form of cash, like the debtors. Who is debtors? The person to whom you sold goods on credit basis. It means, and you have given credit facilities of suppose 15 days. It means your payment is postponed for 15 days. After 15 days, the person will pay you the cash. It means that amount of debtors also be considered as cash because it is very near to cash. Some of the fixed assets. Suppose that fixed assets you want to sell. Why? Because that has completed their estimated life. The machines which you want to sell on scrap after a few months. It means the fixed assets which is on the verge to be converted into cash be also be considered as fund. It means fund will be defined in two ways. Narrow sense, when we define fund as cash. In a broader sense, not only cash, but the cash which is very near to cash assets. It means what? It means whatever in the financial statement there is fixed assets, current liabilities and long-term liabilities. That's all. It means whatever the current assets you have, whatever the current liabilities you have, whatever the fixed assets you have, whatever the long-term liabilities you have, that all be converted, that all be considered within the boundary, within the ambit of cash, that is on ambit of fund, in a broader way. It means you can say now that is whatever the economic resources you have, whatever the economic resources you have, that all are considered as fund. Is that clear? क्लियर है? मतलब जो भी आर्थिक स्रोत है हमारे पास, वो उन सभी को हम फंड कहेंगे. कब? जब हम अपने सोचने के दायरे को बढ़ा दें. क्लियर है? अब हमको ये हो गया फंड. अब हमको देखना है फ्लो ऑफ फंड. ये फंड का फ्लो कैसे होता है? बहुत आसान है. इसके लिए हमको 4 लड्डू बनाना होगा. लड्डू का मतलब ये लड्डू है, बैलेंस शीट का लड्डू है. ये है आपका फिक्स्ड एसेट्स, ये है करंट एसेट्स, ये है करंट लायबिलिटीज, ये है लॉन्ग टर्म फंड. ये होता है ना बैलेंस शीट. ये होता है बैलेंस शीट. अब देखो फंड का फ्लो कब होगा? फंड का फ्लो तब होगा जब वर्किंग कैपिटल में चेंजेस होगा. क्योंकि ये फंड फ्लो स्टेटमेंट किस बात की जानकारी देता है? हम क्यों बनाते हैं ये फंड फ्लो स्टेटमेंट? हम इस फंड फ्लो स्टेटमेंट को इसलिए बनाते हैं क्योंकि मुझे कुछ ऐसी जानकारी लेनी है जो न तो हमको प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट जिसको हम इनकम स्टेटमेंट देता है, जो न तो बैलेंस शीट देता है जिसको हम पोजीशन स्टेटमेंट कहते हैं. पीएल अकाउंट हमको देता है मेरे पास एक्सपेंसेस क्या है और इनकम क्या है. बैलेंस शीट देता है मेरे पास एसेट्स क्या है या लायबिलिटीज क्या है. व्हाटएवर हाउ मच अमाउंट ऑफ एसेट्स एंड लायबिलिटीज यू हैव, दैट द बैलेंस शीट विल गिव यू द पिक्चर. बट फ्रॉम वेयर यू गॉट द फंड एंड वेयर यू हैव अप्लाइड द फंड, this such information neither the PL account nor the balance sheet will give you. And for this reason only you prepare this fund flow statement. So from where you got the fund and where you have utilized that fund, this such information you will prepare get with the help of 2 years balance sheet. With the help of 1 year's balance sheet, you cannot prepare the fund flow statement. So fund flow statement will be prepared with the help of 2 years balance sheet. मान लो, suppose 2019, the amount of fixed assets is 1 lakh. In 2020, if suppose the fixed assets amount is 1,50,000. So what you have seen, what sort of inference you are drawing with this two figure, 1 lakh to 1,50,000. It means your fixed assets been increases from 1 lakh to 1,50,000. It means what? What you are getting this inference from this data? Because your fixed assets increases, it means you have purchased some fixed assets. And you cannot purchase until unless you will utilize your fund. हम किसी चीज को परचेस तब तक नहीं करेंगे कर सकते जब तक हम अपने फंड को यूटिलाइज नहीं करेंगे. फंड मेरे पास से जाएगा. समझ में आई बात? इसीलिए अब हमको देखना है जो कहां से हम कैसे फंड का फ्लो होता है. तो ये फंड फ्लो स्टेटमेंट हमको जानकारी देता है जो हमारे वर्किंग कैपिटल में क्या चेंजेस आता है. यू नो the changes in working capital. Working capital मेरे समझ से आप जानते हैं. Working capital is the difference between current asset and current liabilities. Current assets CA and CL current liabilities and WCA is working capital. आपको मालूम है. मतलब जो वर्किंग कैपिटल में चेंजेस अगर होगा तभी फंड में चेंजेस फ्लो में फंड में चेंजेस होगा. और वर्किंग कैपिटल में चेंजेस होगा तब हम जो स्टेटमेंट को तैयार करेंगे उसका नाम होगा फंड फ्लो स्टेटमेंट. सो फंड फ्लो स्टेटमेंट वी प्रिपेयर फॉर टू नो द चेंजेस इन वर्किंग कैपिटल. अब वर्किंग कैपिटल में चेंजेस कैसे होता है ये देखें आप. वर्किंग कैपिटल क्या होता है? करंट एसेट्स माइनस करंट लायबिलिटीज. इसका मतलब वर्किंग कैपिटल में फिक्स एसेट्स और लॉन्ग टर्म लायबिलिटीज का कहीं एंट्री नहीं है. देयर इज नो इम्पैक्ट ऑफ लॉन्ग टर्म फंड एंड फिक्स एसेट्स ऑन वर्किंग कैपिटल. इट मींस इफ देयर इज transactions between fixed assets and long term fund, I have given the dotted line. Dotted lines means there is no flow of fund. No flow. The fund cannot flow. Why? Because if there is transaction between fixed assets and long term fund, that will not put any impact on working capital. And if there is no impact on working capital, it means there is no flow of fund. Flow of fund happens only when there is change in working capital. So, if there is horizontal transaction from fixed assets to long-term fund or long-term fund to fixed assets, there is no change in working capital. It will not put any impact on working capital. So that is the reason why I have shown this line in dotted line. Okay. Now it means what? Again, if there is transaction between current assets and current liabilities, or current liabilities to current assets, again there will be no change in working capital. Why? If the current assets will increase, current liabilities will also increase. So, if suppose previously the current assets is 10 and current liabilities is 2, the working capital is 8. If current assets is 10 and current liabilities is 2, it means working capital is 8. And if I want to increase the current assets from 10 to 15, obviously current liabilities will also increase from 2 to 7. It means again there is 8 Now you see, is there any change in working capital? No, no change. And when there is no change in working capital, there is no change, there is no flow of fund. It means we came in conclusion, if there is horizontal transaction, there will no change in flow of fund. That the fund will not flow. It means what? It means when there is vertical transaction, vertical means I want to put not dotted line, vertical transaction from long-term fund to current liabilities or current liabilities to long-term fund, or fixed assets to current assets or current assets to fixed assets, or diagonal, long-term fund, current assets to long-term fund or long-term fund to current assets, there will be flow. Why? Suppose you see this. If suppose current assets is 10 and current liabilities is 2, working capital here is 8, okay? Now, current assets amount is increasing from 10 to 15, not because of current liabilities, but because of long-term funds. Why? Because our cash is increasing, because I have taken borrowed money from by issuing new shares. If I will issue new shares, the cash will increase. Is that clear? But current liabilities will not increase. Previously, the cash increases, stock increases because I have taken that stock on credit basis from creditors. So here the creditors increases from 2 to 7, and here the cash, current assets, that is stock, increases from 10 to 15, and there is no change in working capital. Here the cash is, here current assets is increasing, cash is increasing, not because of creditors but because of long-term fund. And current liabilities remain same too, so here is 13, so working capital changed. So there is flow of fund. Is that clear? So it means when there is, the transaction is vertical, that is fixed assets to current or current assets to fixed, or long-term fund to current liabilities or current liabilities to long-term fund, there will be change in working capital, there will be flow of fund. Is that clear? So today I have discussed the definition, I have discussed the flow of fund, how the fund will flow. Now in fund flow statement, definition of fund is over, the flow of fund is over. In next class we will discuss the fund flow statement. In fund flow statement we will discuss how we prepare the one side. In fund flow statement there are two sides, that is sources and application, or uses, where gone fund, or sources and uses. Means fund flow statement also be known as source and application of fund, sources and uses of fund, where gone fund. And with the help of this fund flow statement, we will calculate the changes in working capital in the next class. Thank you very much.